Hi, I'm Swedge. I'm a admin at the Goldmag Discord, and I also moderate the Retribution section over at the Light Club. You might be familiar with my Swing Timer add-on for WoW Classic, and I want to talk today about another add-on for WoW Classic called Scambuster. The purpose of Scambuster is to prevent you from scammers in-game, and it does so by providing uh, places like Realm Discords that might curate a player report section where people that get scammed, someone steals gold from a GBID, or someone ninjas an item in an SR run or that kind of thing, where uh, some of these discords provide a player reports hub whereby players can report when they've been scammed, and if the evidence is sufficient, then these players can get added to a kind of list that an advisory list for the community to avoid when playing with other players. So, Scambuster is a way for those trusted third parties to upload their data into a formatted and configurable database that can run in the background along with a series of scans based on your interactions with other players. So right now I'm on the PTR to demonstrate this, and I've got a test list enabled for the PTR, and this character here, Swedger, is listed. So when I target Swedger, we get a little alert. So we get an alert sound, and we get a little breakdown of the player's infractions here. So it says we've encountered a level 80 paladin, gives you a hyperlink to them there, so you can ignore or do whatever you like, detected via this whatever scan they get picked up on. And you can see who's listed them for what. So in this case, the Goldmine Discord listed them for a raid scan. It gives you a description of what scam they carried out, and then a link. Now, this is just a link to the WoW wiki for testing purposes, but in an actual list, this would be a list. This would be a link to the where the evidence was presented against this player on the Discord. So for Goldmag Discord, that's a link to the thread in our player reports forum. So it's not based on like blind trust. You can if you see this, you can go and actually look at the evidence yourself and make your own mind up. And if you're in a party, this will be instead broadcasted to the party or the raid, and people can also see the evidence and make up their own minds, that kind of thing. So obviously targets are not the only way in which you can get protected here. So just another example is trade. So in this case, Swedger initiates a trade with us, the add-on picks them up and alerts us. It also applies to group invites, so we can see here we get alerted, and one thing we can do as well, we'll just accept the group invite just to show what what the party kind of response looks like. It will also scan, anytime the group that you're in updates, it will also run a scan, and if it detects anyone, it will broadcast it instead of just giving you this personal message here. It will broadcast it to the relevant party or raid channel. Right. It can also handle whispers too, so if we get a little hello whisper from Swedger, so this can be handy if you're looking for trade or something like that, for a trade partner or for someone to craft something for you. You know if someone's trying to get in touch, whether or not they're a scammer. So yeah, so that's how the add-on kind of protects you by running all these scans. And we'll go, first of all, we're going to go through how you install Scambuster, and then we're going to go through how you configure it, and conclude with a little discussion of the Wikipedia and the roadmap. So I'm here on the Curse add-on manager, and the recommended way to install Scambuster and any dependent add-ons is through Curse. So it's very easy to do so. You just go on CurseForge and you search for the term Scambuster, and you'll see that there are a few results here. So the main result that everyone will have to install is just the primary add-on Scambuster itself. You always have to install this. This is the basic framework, but it doesn't contain any data itself, right? Because obviously, if we package data into the central add-on, then every time a certain list gets updated, it would push updates to every single one of the add-on users, which we don't want. So each of the actual realms are compartmentalized into these provider add-ons. Now, I'm playing on Goldmag, so I want to install the Goldmag one, but there's also available a Gehennis one that's maintained by the Gehennis Discord. So yeah, and there you go. You've got them installed. You can click on Scambuster and see a description of the add-on here, and a little getting started, a little tip on how to configure it, and a link to the project wiki. We're gonna have a quick look now at the in-game configuration, and we'll describe how you configure Scambuster. So we're here on the Goldmag realm, and if I I check my add-ons, you can see that Scambuster is loaded up, along with our extension add-on for GoMag. So now we're going to have a quick look at the config options. So to access the config options, you can either go to the interface, add-ons, and then Scambuster menu, or you can type /Scambuster or /SB for convenience, and you can get to this menu. So there are three rough kind of areas for the configuration right now. So the first is the scanning behavior. So you can manually enable and disable certain types of scan that Scambuster will run for you. So you have, the party and raid scan, so anyone in your raid will get checked against the database. You've seen whispers and target and trade, I think, in the PTR demonstration. Invite confirmations you saw, although I should add that invite confirmations doesn't just apply to when a scammer invites you to their group. It also applies to when a scammer applies to join your group via the group finder tool, or someone suggests that a scammer join your group. Those confirmations will also be scanned by Scambuster and intercepted. So Scambuster is already very lightweight. It doesn't take up many resources, but to get it even more efficient, you can suspend some of the scanning operations while you're inside of a raid instance or a dungeon instance. Because for a scammer to be in there, they have to be in your group already, so these scans should cover it already for you. Okay, second section will cover is alerts here. So when I was doing the testing on the PTR, you saw that the add-on was alerting me at quite a high frequency. That's just because I had the alert lockout turned down to almost 0 just to demonstrate it. But to avoid spam, for each individual scammer, Scambuster will only generate an alert once per a lockout period that you can configure here. And you can set it to higher and lower than the hour limit here, if you like. And then you can configure the chat alerts. So by default, Scambuster will give you a system message when you're not in a group and you're just on your own. But when you're in a group, it will broadcast the information on the group or raid channel instead. And you can configure here if you want to also show the descriptions. So you can turn this off if you want to have a slightly more concise printout for the group, spam them a little less. And then last we have the audio alert here. You can enable, disable here. And we package a few different sound alerts here by default.
Stop right there, criminal scum.
Which you might be familiar with. So you can choose a few of these here.
Stop! You violated the law.
Let's go for that one. And the last section that we're going to cover is the report matching. So first of all, we'll talk about GUID and name matching. So Scambuster by default will try to match the GUID, that is the global unique identifier of any player that you encounter, because these persist between various types of rename operations. So if a scammer renames, you'll still catch them with this, and you'll still be able to see what their old alias was and that kind of thing. If you want to require a GUID match, this is turned off by default, but you might want to enable this if you don't want to ding any false positives, whereby a scammer does some shenanigans, renames, and then at some point later, a new player takes the now vacant name that the scammer left behind, and you don't want to get them blamed for things. So if a provider only has the name for a case, this can result in false positives. If they have a GUID match, great, you're never going to get a false positive. And if you want, you can just require GUID matches there. You can also configure what categories you want to be generated alerts for. So say it's late at night, you're having trouble filling a pug for Eternity 10 or something like that. You don't really care about someone that ninja'd something for off-spec in a dungeon run. You're fine taking the risk playing with them. You can just disable that and you won't get generated any warnings for them. And for severity here, so Scambuster also supports different severity of reports. So if your provider does support this, then you can have someone on a probation list, and you can, if you like, just ignore those players until they're taken off probation, or only be alerted by scammers, or you can have probation here. Reformed is more of a placeholder really right now. So yeah, so that's how you configure the options in game. Now we're going to take a look at the project wiki. So if you're on the CurseForge page for the add-on here, Scambuster, you can see a link to the project wiki down below, which will take you to the GitHub repository for the project. And you can also, if you go back here, you can see a link to the wiki at the top as well. They'll do the same thing. So this will take you directly to the wiki. Otherwise, yeah, you can access the home repository here. If you have any issues while using the add-on, you can open something in the issues tracker. We'll also be posting a dedicated channel to discuss the add-on and development for the add-on in the GoMag Discord, and a link to the Discord will be in the description below. And yeah, so we'll have a quick look at the wiki now. So you can see here there's a quick link to the installation instructions like we went over. There is also a list of provider add-ons that will grow as more people, more Discords want to be using this. So we'll have an entry here for GoMag now, probably have an entry for Gehenna soon enough. And if anyone else is interested in making a provider add-on, there is a full guide here in the provider info section of the wiki, including a template repository. And there's a very small number of tweaks you need to make to be able to curate your own Scambuster extension add-on that loads your data into Scambuster. So yeah, if anyone's interested in that, feel free to get in touch. So the last thing we'll check out is the roadmap. So Scambuster is fairly feature complete for the core functionality on release, but there are some things we want to add. The first thing is we want to add a database GUI browser so you can actually browse the data in game. It's easy enough. If you want to actually browse the data, you can just go to the source code for your provider add-on here. So for example, this is linked in for the GoMag disk here, and you can click the list.lua file and you can see all the data here for the scammers, including their GUIDs, classes, factions, all this kind of stuff. But we want this to be browsable in game for sure. So that's the first thing we'll be working on. Then we'll be working on an alerts GUI. So instead of just Scambuster automatically responding to things, if you don't want it to automatically respond and you want to have some context, we'll have an alerts GUI that'll pop up and give you some context-sensitive actions you can take. Like if you joined a group with a scammer, you can broadcast to the group, and then if no one likes it, you can have a context button to leave. You can also have other context buttons to ignore people and that sort of thing. We want to add some tooltips and some chat filters and eventually support user block lists as well. So we're going to keep this development on this is going to be very active over the coming months or so. And yeah, if you have any features that aren't on the roadmap that you'd like to see, by all means open up an issue or get in touch on the GoMag Discord. So that's Scambuster, and I hope you guys get some good usage out of this. I hope it maybe saves you a bit of heartache if someone ninjas a big piece that drops in Ulduar for you. And yeah, hope you guys have fun with it. Any comments, get in touch with me on Discord or in GitHub. I'm Swedge. Thanks for listening.